Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post for Parshas Matot-Masei is titled Family, a Double-Edged Sword. The family unit in Yiddishkeit and Judaism has a central role that we understand our existence and the very fabric of our existence and our Jewish and religious observance is understood through the lens and through the appreciation of relationships, of a family relationship, this can be seen from a macro level to a micro level, in the sense of our relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, of Bein Adam L'Makom, the relationship of a father with a child, but also of our relationship with other people, of Bein Adam L'Chavero, of V'ahavta L'Orecha Kamecha, and also, of course, our relationship with our parents, of Kibbud Avayim, and the relationship with our siblings. And this makes up the very fabric of our Jewish identity. It's the central role of relationships is what gives us meaning and significance, and also directs the way that we live our Jewish life as well. Mishpacha Achad, the Achdus in Am Yisrael, and the understanding of how our life is lived not as an individual, but through the family, as I said, which can be a family in our relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, relationship with other people, but most significant and important is relationship with our family unit itself, the family unit of our parents and siblings. And the research into family relationships and what they call family hurt looks at the domestic violence and domestic abuse and tries to understand why is family hurt so painful. And we can see that the family unit is a double-edged sword, in the sense that the relationship with our parents and our siblings can be the most significant and the most nurturing relationship, but at the same time it has the greatest potential to do damage and to be so painful. And the research looks at family hurt and asks and tries to understand, why is it so painful? Why does it hurt so much? And in domestic violence and abuse, the research often shows how it's a person we are familiar with, often unfortunately a family member, who abuses the relationship, abuses the intimacy and the closeness, and uses this in order to initiate the abuse, in order as we said, to abuse the relationship. And it's so painful because in a family unit, in the family relationships, there is this belief of unconditional love, that the relationship with a parent or a sibling is unconditional, but this is shattered and broken as a result of the family hurt, as a result of the abuse. There's also the technical aspect of the fact that there is a shared history and access to information and knowledge about a person that can be used to humiliate them. And also there's the idea of the emotional dependency that we have on our family members, and the idea of differentiation and the emotional boundaries that can be blurred and can be violated as well, which makes the family hurt so painful and so damaging. And there's furthermore in the research, it's shown that there's a gray area of the relationship. There's a gray area in the sense of violence as well, because there's a fine line between what they call playful aggression and violence. Because in a family where there is family hurt, it's an environment which is often dominated by aggression. There's a lack of affection, there's violence, and there's neglect. But that is obvious. I mean, in the sense that violence is obviously something which is not okay. Abuse, domestic violence and domestic abuse is certainly not okay and not acceptable. But as we said, there's a fine line that the research looks at, where playful aggression, which is a concept often seen with children, that children play with each other in a playful but aggressive way. But there's a question of whether it's acceptable and how it then develops or can have repercussions later on, because we see that playful aggression can also manifest later on in the relationship of a parent with a child, or in the marital relationship as well. So we have to look at the functionality of aggression or playful aggression and try to see that there's a certain sensitivity that is necessary to understand when or if it is acceptable to be aggressive, or how to be aggressive, and how it can be expressed. Because this is a fine line, and perhaps it isn't really possible to maintain this balance, and to keep within this fine line, this grey area of playful aggression. Perhaps there's always a potential and a danger that it can develop into violence and abuse. And we can see this idea, we can draw this idea out from this week's Parsha with the Arei Miklat. The Arei Miklat were the cities of refuge that were a place where a person who killed another person unintentionally could seek refuge and can hide and to be safe from the family member that might want to kill them in revenge, the Goel Hadam. And the Psukim expand and explain the difference and appreciate the difference between intentional and unintentional murder. That obviously somebody who hits somebody in a violent way with the intention to do harm, with the intention to kill, and pushes or ambushes them, or uses violence and uses tools in order to kill somebody, then it's clear that that there is an intention to kill, and they are a murderer. But there's this grey area of the Arei Miklat, and the provision of the Arei Miklat is that it can be that a person pushes another person, they can behave with them in an aggressive way, without the intention to do harm, without the intention to kill. But in the end, this results in death. And this is the unintentional murder. And the provision of Arei Miklat is to accept that there is obviously a difference between intentional and unintentional murder, but there is an understanding that the aggression was still dangerous, and the aggression, whether it was playful or whether and it wasn't intended to do harm, in the end did do harm. And this is the grey area, and this is the fine line in how aggression is expressed. What the meaning or the significance of a push, of a little touch, of a behavioral interaction that might be purely playful, or there is no intention to do harm, because we love, whether it's a parent loves a child or the siblings love each other. But the aggression, whether it's playful aggression or the behavior without the intention to do harm, in the end results in damage. And this is the Arei Miklat, and this is the provision to provide a person with a safe haven, a place to be safe. But as we see that there is a sensitivity, and the Psukim are explaining, and we can see that there is a distinction between intentional and unintentional murder, but there is ultimately what we derive from this is the danger of behavior, and the danger of aggression, as brought out from the research of the ambiguity surrounding playful aggression in family relationships. And it requires sensitivity and perhaps to understand, to appreciate how we should behave in the best way possible in order to create a nurturing and a healthy relationship within the family unit. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.